Okay, we're live. And as we were getting ready to come on here, I've got my front door open because there's no humidity in Kentucky, which is an odd thing, not normal. And a wasp just flew in. And as I was hitting go live, I thought, how appropriate for the transits today because Mars is kicking itself in and it's like you can see some very waspy energy out there. People are going to have their stingers ready to, to go off because they feel threatened. So they're going to attack before you attack them. And I was like,
Yes, the pressure
that's
is
really interesting.
high.
Yeah, I know. I got to send this wall some love. I was just sitting there saying it's the only, I mean, I really hate them. I do. I don't like them, ticks, or fleas. It's like, what are the purpose of these things besides pure malefic evil? You know?
Oh, the poor wasp. I mean, I grew up in Florida, so I had all the stingings. The bees are always around, hornets were always around, wasps were always around. They would just build so many mud nests that you couldn't get rid of them. You couldn't. So we learned to avoid the stinging flying insects.
I know this is probably one of those little, he's going out as a scout looking for a place for them to put their home. Lots of times the corner at the front door. Oh shit. There may be something on it where my door is open. I need to look. They'll get in the corners of the door and in the corners of my front porch is where they like to go. I'm not sure that there's not something hanging there that I hadn't noticed. It's amazing how fast they can do that. They are
Yeah,
efficient.
they are
So,
so fast.
so if you think about that with the Mars energy, because it's like your choice of how the transit's going to affect you. How are you going to use that energy? Because Mars is not all, Mars is known as the warrior god, and he wasn't always the warrior god. He was the god of the lands and sustainability and the crops. And then when the Romans started warring, and when a war culture takes over another culture, they take their traditions and assimilate them into theirs, so then they can dominate the people with them. That is something humans have done over and over and over. And that's what most religions are. They're adaptations, then they take it into that and create a higher power with it. So anyway, with that, it's like you can recall that energy. You don't have to be the Romans aren't the leader of you. They're not your boss. Like, use that action, be the 3-year-old
I
temper
love
tantrum
that.
and go, I am declaring Mars as sustainability. Because when you use that energy in a positive action way, that's what it does. It's like it's intuitive insight with that. It's the divine masculine energy and not the distorted masculine energy that's just out to conquer and control and achieve. And I mean achieve in a egoic conquering way instead of a balanced way of achieving and moving into a place of sustainability for all. When you're in a balanced
Yeah.
place, you look at it in that way. So you can take the energy of action. It's in a there's a T square to that. There's a T square, a T square. It's like it's a literal T, and there's planets like this, and so it's the fixed signs. And then with Pluto, Mars and Pluto were doing something. I know this. Well, I just wrote it all up earlier for my own report, and now it's going from my mind. And so it's in
Yeah.
a opposition to that Jupiter in Taurus energy, the Mars in Leo. Yeah, that's it. Mars is in Leo because they're opposite polarities on the wheel, like the zodiac wheel. It's like a clock. Okay, so if you were looking at 12 o'clock and 6 o'clock, it's like whatever those opposites are, they're opposite. So
Yeah. So the squares are North Node and Mars, and North Node and Pluto.
yeah,
Yeah.
Pluto is in, yeah, because the nodes right now are in Taurus and and Scorpio. Scorpio's part of it, but it's like Scorpio's kind of just sitting back and going, oh, it's your shit. There's a truck out there. Do I need to shut my door? Can y'all hear all that noise?
You're getting trucks, you're getting wasps, got the whole
Right. Now
shebang
I
over
got,
there.
and it's not just little trucks, it's like trucks, big trucks, men
I
in
know,
big
I can
trucks
hear
that are
them.
coming
Those are
through.
like
There's like
the
4 of them that just went by. Oh,
double
there's 2
trailer.
more. They've got big equipment behind them. So it's like calling in
Yeah.
the big equipment. So you could do that. You could do the divine action and call in the big equipment and refocus on whatever that you want to do. And yeah, because Scorpio's
Well,
sitting
with that
back
Mars
watching.
being out there, like too, to me, that's kind of reflecting a lot of the Mars energy that we've gone through with Mars retrograde coming into the year. And I know I keep going back to that, but it really had set up a lot of reframing of how we do things, and how we do things is the results you get out of what you're trying to do. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like it's coming back and back and back. It's really questioning a lot of our principles, our structures, our systems. That that stuff that we thought was not going to change, but is changing. And then how well are we adapting or allowing for the change? I think, and
Yeah,
that's how I see it.
yeah, Mars is in Leo for the next 40 days. It just left Cancer. And so when it's in Cancer, it's like, it's underwater. It's like it's been underwater. So you might have had thoughts, intuition, but not the like correct timing for your action, kind of feeling. And then when it moved into Leo, it's just like, it's like it's on fire. Everything's on fire, and that the energy.
Everything feels needed immediately.
Right,
Yeah,
and it can be erratic. It can
yeah.
be erratic energy. So if you feel that coming up in you, take a breath, ground yourself in, align, get your center, get centered to your North Star, what that is for you, and then do your action. You're going to want to do fast. And sometimes the fast stuff may be correct, and it doesn't mean you can't make another choice because we can always choose again. But, it's yeah, it's that
Mm.
it's because everybody, the whole collective is going to have that energy, the energy of that.
Well, and that's to me what's causing the kind of aggression. I mean, it's also the astrology. So the square Pluto, like you'll feel like people are in your way, right? Or they're trying to keep you from what you're doing. Like, so that's like that power struggle feeling,
Yeah, I
you
did a
know?
whole thing on the Mars and Leo YouTube that I released Saturday, I think. It should be in the stuff somewhere here. And that archetype that's embodied, like people that have it natally in their chart and they live with it every day, like some of the celebrities that we know, it's like we use those examples in astrology because it's archetypal energy that somebody's embodying, and then you can have an understanding. Donald Trump has natally Leo and Mars, so that you're fired. That's like that is the perfect example of just, somebody could be like talking about something. They think they're like, they're in alignment, and all of a sudden this energy just comes in and goes, you're fired. So it's that kind of, it can be that abrupt energy, and
Yeah,
then
yeah.
there's several, like Beyonce has it. There's several, like, real, she's used it for action and her passion and her creativity. So it can be creativity energy and how you use it in that way, how you inspire people with the energy. Steven Tyler, who are some of the rest of them? There's a
Wow,
couple cult
really?
leaders. There was a couple cult leaders that have it. So
It
so it's
is that dynamic. It's like, being able to get attention through your actions, right?
yeah. Oh, John
And
Stewart. John Stewart was one of them that has it.
yeah.
And John Stewart, he's a comedian. He's also he had the Daily Show, and then he is very outspoken in his He'll go. He's an activist. It can be an activist energy. Like that energy can be demonstrated as activist. So it can be kind of like a righteous kind of anger too. It can be in
Hmm.
that way that can kick in crowds and groups of people that go, hell no, I'm not going to take this anymore. So just, it's just that can
Yeah.
be a collective energy of that. And then that's how certain people have embodied it and how they have used it. You know,
Yeah.
what are you
And
going to,
I put up
yeah.
Kimberly's YouTube on Mars and Leo, so that you usually do the ones where that goes through the houses for them,
Yeah,
right?
so you know what the theme is for you. So this one I've been trying to do it where I do what's the positive and the shadow side that you could come and up with. So it's like what your conflict could
Yeah.
be if your ego goes into the righteousness. And
Yeah.
it's like, and where is the balance at? How do you find the balance in that? Because when you're in alignment, then you're going to use it for inspiration and creativity. And you can, it's like a lot of light. That can be a lot of, it can be a lot of light that you can reflect out into the world to amplify things with.
Yes, yes, yes. And like I think of Leo, like fifth house Leo, I think of that as kind of our, being on stage. Like, what is that? How do you show up in front of people, right?
Hmm.
And how do
Hmm.
you lead? How do you lead like groups and that kind of thing? Because so, what is that dynamic, and how do you get the attention in order to, right, to influence like a group of people, you know? And that I think is kind of that question. It's kind of that age old question. Are you doing it like the old way of like exerting strength and power and like I'm going to make you do it? Or is
Conquer.
it,
Yeah.
yeah, conquering kind of I'm better than you and I'm bigger than you and I'm smarter than you and therefore I'm the leader? Or is it going to be more in line with this new way of doing things and doing action, and how do we serve, right? Same kind of
Hmm.
thing Kimberly was
Yeah,
talking
it's like
about.
where do you shine the light? Where do you
Hmm.
shine the light out? How to use that as inspiration, because that's,
Yeah,
yeah. And then
because
we
the
also,
creativity part is that same dynamic. You can lead through your actions, right? You can lead through what you create, you know and so that's also a possibility.
yeah, and that's how people, I mean, honestly, righteous anger creates change in the world. When you get mad enough about it to make a change, and it's when you stay in the anger and the rage that you create, the explosion thing when you can't see the whole picture and you
Yeah.
get just in this blindsided kind of energy with it, that it's the only
Yeah.
way. So it's still staying in focus, and it's what that would be a good thing to do, is to step back and just to ask creator, your higher self, whatever that is that you want to call it, you know Holy Spirit. I use the word Holy Spirit. Show me how to see this. When you have one of those moments of that, then you sit back and ask from the higher perspective. That's your higher, it's a part of you that's always connected to the higher perspective. And we forget that we are sometimes, because we're down here in the 3D. We're like, we embodied this 3D skin suit, and we forget that we're always tapped into that higher perspective. So it's when you're irritated yourself, that's when you take the energy, you reflect the light within, and ask to see the higher perspective of it. So you
Yes.
can channel it in that way and create divine inspiration with your action. What else we got going on? Seems like that's today, is that those big squares are happening. And then tomorrow the moon's conjunct in Venus, which can be some nice pleasant energy. It's
Nice.
conjunct in Venus, and then it's like, I can talk about the moons later, but it's in Cancer today, the moon is. So you're going to
Yeah.
want the nurturing energy, so that other kind of disruptive energy it might feel a little, sandpapery to you, because you're really wanting to be nurtured today and not feeling that sharp, you know, energy light too bright on you. And and then when we kind of get past it, then the moon goes into Leo. So it's like everything's all lit up again. So we got a
Yeah.
lot this week. A lot of energy in that
Uh,
way.
yeah. And for those of you, like, cause I have a lot of water in my chart, and so
I do
oftentimes
too.
fire feels pushy.
Yeah.
It's kind of like it makes you feel like you have to do things. It feels like you're not, or it can make you feel guilty. Like I guess for me, it does kind of make you feel guilty. Like I'm not going fast enough. I should be going faster. I should be, getting more done. Like that kind of feeling I always get from this energy. So I'm always kind of like between like rebellion mode and like just being straight up irritated when there's a ton of fire energy.
Yeah, my own personal energy was in the water element yesterday. There's a whole thing with that, the like your own personal energy and what your element is. And and then I was trying to do action because I'm in the middle of doing all this garden stuff that I have this big vision of. And I literally felt like, you know how when you're walking in water, like walking in a pool or against the stream, and you're like, and your legs feel so heavy, like there's weights on them, and you're trying to move, and you're like going against it. I felt like that yesterday with the energy. It's like I could feel this. I really, because the moon was in Cancer yesterday too, and it's like to be here, but then trying to do the action, and so we can feel that way. So if you start checking in yourself, you'll notice it when you start getting that aligned with with the all. You will
Yeah.
feel when you're going. You'll
Yeah.
feel those two when they come together. It's like the action I was trying to create the action, and all this water was coming at me, and that's what it felt like to me. So if you're in one
Yeah.
of those things, you're probably in your own water element, and then the collective is in a fire energy, and it's just like it's not like you're going against, or everywhere you try to go, there's a traffic jam. It's that kind of energy.
Yes, I
Yeah.
feel that so hard. Yeah, it's kind of I felt very similarly yesterday, I have to say. Like and we went up to the mountain, so it wasn't like I was trying to make things happen, but it felt like I should have been. And then it was a lot of that. Everybody's in the same place we are kind of feeling. And then every time you go up to the mountains, you expect it to be like mountains. You expect to be like, hillbillies going to be behind the mountain. I think that's how it works on the East Coast. And you don't expect to see everybody, right? But because it's going on, warm weather, summer, and all the things, everybody's up there. Everybody's up there going into Yosemite. And so, just more people than we wanted to see really at the time.
Right, you wanted to be in that nurturing Cancer energy and not like the energy. It's like, yeah.
And then we're thinking about doing this trail, but Daryl didn't bring any sneakers, and like it was like a 2 miles to the waterfall. We wanted to see the waterfall, and he was just like, "No, I'm not doing it." And I was just like, "We're here. Why not? We're here, And he didn't agree, but we did decide on what we're going to do in the future. We'll go more often, and so that we will come prepared to do those things, right? How we're going to do these things in the future. I feel like a lot of times we get this initiation energy, fire energy. I consider initiation energy. We get this initiation energy, and we think now. Like we got it. Everything has to be done now. That's kind of the feeling, like I said, for me. And the reality is, it's like giving you the indicators of how to move forward, and it's not just now. It's now into the future.
Right. What do you
coming.
need to do to prepare yourself in order to be, It's like those things of action. It's like that energy of how do you prepare yourself for it. So when you use that insight that way, it's exactly how it comes in alignment.
And the fun part is we do have the gate and gene key as 20. So the gate is patience. Right? So when you're thinking, like, again, when you feel this push energy, go, go, go. And actually the dictate is to be patient. Right? Like, The G key is the shadow superficiality, the gift of self assurance, the city of presence. So, yeah, so it's easy to just want to get her done, right? All my Southern colloquialisms are coming up, but like you just have that, and just get things done. But if that stays on the superficial, that surface energy, then we're not going to get the deep change that's available, the deep shift for the deep impact that we can create in our actions. So, yeah, so oppressive is absent, reactive is hectic. So, absent is just kind of like tuning out, which is my usually go-to. My go-to is to tune out. They're like, peace out. And the reactive is to just do a lot of things, right? Hectic, to just do a bunch of stuff, but not really getting anything done. That's so interesting. That came up for me. I was talking about what I learned from men. And because my father wasn't around all the time, I was always expecting him to be getting something done, right? Because he would always say, well, I'm working, so I can't. I'm working on this, so we can't be there. I'm working on this, so, I can't do this time or whatever. Just a lot of absenteeism. And so I'm like, great, you're working, so you're eventually going to, have a result from that. That's what my thought process was as a kid. I'm like, okay, yeah, fathers work so they can make money and bring it home. Like that's what they were telling us on TV, right?
Right.
But he would do all this work and he would never bring any money home. So I was like, I was so frustrated at one point that I sat down and I was like, that can't be right. This can't be right. And this is me as a child. Like this is how much I was expecting things to go the right way. And I wrote down, I don't even know where I wrote it down, but I wrote down, work isn't work unless you're getting something done. So that was my kind of life motto going well through school, which is like kind of gave me a great work ethic, but it didn't give me a lot of spaciousness, a lot of freedom, right? And so
was your mom a stay-at-home mom? But did your mom work out in the workforce?
Yeah, she did. Yeah.
I was just thinking about, as you were saying that, I was thinking about it because I thought, there is a strange energy with that off how, lots of times, like, even if your parents are together, there's still like the absenteeism because they're at work, especially the father, he's at work, he's always at work. And then there's something that goes into our consciousness with that about what work is and how not having the balance. Like if you're working, then you don't get to have the balance. But you know what I'm saying? There's something there.
You can't enjoy if you're working.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. There's the thing that's in humanity's consciousness with that. I mean, as entrepreneurs, when we work for ourselves, we're doing it because we're creatives. It's like we're creative, so we're creating. And it's not the thing for everybody to do. It's not, because honestly, there's a part of it that, I mean, when I worked in the hospital and I punched a time clock for somebody else, you just work till your desk is clear and you're gone. It's like all those years of that I hated it. But at the same time, I wasn't taking that home with me. It was like, you do what's in front of you and you punch the clock and you're out the door. And it's like the only time you were carrying something with you was some kind of emotional garbage from somebody else, something that somebody else like inflicted on you that
dynamic.
Day. Yeah, it was a work dynamic. It was more that than, the other, because I worked in the lab. I mean, I guess people that are in actual patient care. I mean, because I wasn't on that one-on-one patient care all day long. So I was working specimens, which is a lot like working in a factory. You work till your counter's clean, like we're the ones processing everything. So when you're in
those, that's kind of what my sister does, but she's in the QR or no.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
when you're in those roles, people that are in those roles, and then when you're an entrepreneur and you're working for yourself, really our work switch never goes off, because it's
Yeah.
always, even if you're sitting somewhere in the quiet somewhere, you get like an inspiration idea. You get that on the mountaintop, hit the waterfall, wherever. It's like you can go, oh, I just got this, and then you're in. And so there's a part of that brain, I think, as I'm saying that, because there's a part of that brain that's integrated. It's not turned on and off. Like there's an
Yeah.
integration that's always happening in that flame. That flame is always there. And then how do you use that inspiration flame? Because you can be doing anything and you get the ahas of whatever your next creation is, your next launch, your next program. It's like,
Yeah.
because the way where I see clients, I may be out doing something else, and I get information for some client. It's not my information; it's like theirs, and it just like drops into me, and it's like, oh, that is so and so's. and I,
Yeah.
and if I don't tell them right then, or at least say, hey, I've got something, and I'm not walking. When people say to me, well, are you getting anything? I literally have a switch in my head that I turn on and off, so it's not on all the time. But sometimes when I'm in that quiet space, something like that will drop in, for them. And
Yeah.
it's like it, and I feel it like if I'm in, like if I was in a group thing and somebody says, well, what are you getting from me? It almost feels like they're trying to get in my brain and pull things out. You know what I'm saying? It's like there's no boundaries
Mm.
there. There's something there. There's a difference in between it and when it's just open, and like the universe gives this to me to hand to somebody. There's a difference in the energy. I don't feel the pressure on me. Like when somebody's like probing at me, trying to get
Trying to
information.
get you to get to the insight. No,
Yeah,
I
there's a difference
feel
in the
that because
energy.
I feel like people used to do that to me all the time. It's one of the reasons that I was like such a severe introvert in the beginning, because people would be so invasive about their desire, and like some people just smell it on you. I don't know how people know. So I feel like if they were certain, like they're obviously intuitive, but like I feel like if they were a certain level intuitive, they wouldn't be so graspy of yours, right? But in the beginning, that's what it was. Like if people would just hang
Well,
around me
that's
or
the
want to be with me and like not leave, like they would stay. Oh, wait. I feel like that was it. They were like waiting for that, wanting that download basically. And yeah, I used to I could feel it, and I could feel that it was draining, but I didn't know what was happening at the time.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. There is the energy of that happens with it. Can happen. Yeah.
Yeah, it totally is. It's kind of graspy. And so yeah, I think that's something.
You know what it is? It's because they're trying to give their power away, and it's like and we don't want it.
Right.
Your power, don't give it to me. You have your own intuition. It's like I'm not your guru, and it's like there's a stickiness with it, and it's just like, no, don't put me in that place. It's,
Yeah.
yeah, there's something there with that.
There
Yeah,
is something there with that. And so it's good to talk about. I feel like for other people who have that sense of intuition. And I do feel like it's a kind of a leadership intuition, because you kind of know you get things for people to fulfill their work, right? So that's kind of just the energetics of it, is that we're kind of placed here so that people will fulfill the work that they have, right? And so and so they see that they're more productive when they're around you and or after they've been with you, right? And so
right.
people kind of glom on. um but it's really exhausting for the person who is like kind of giving these things away, essentially, because our culture typically doesn't um value, in other words, give you money for insight, right? And so it is kind of that energetics doesn't play out very well in the long haul. Somebody always feels used and or is used, like they get to the bottom of the barrel type of thing, so to speak. And so Yeah, and what I had to learn was to receive as well, right? To receive, to find that my time and my energy was valuable, that my insight was valuable, and then receive, because what also happens, people would give me things, right? They would like, and I'm not a present buyer, and so I always felt like if you give me a present, I'm going to have to give you one back.
I know I'm not a present buyer either, and I don't like that energy of that. And lots of times something that I want, and then I'm like, what am I supposed to do with this? And then you keep it because somebody gave it to you, and it's not really something you want.
So you're just like, well, it was a gift, so I have to keep it, right?
Yeah, right.
But
Yeah.
it is that feeling, and then you saw you get all this guilt and shame wrapped up into like this gift giving for a long time for me.
What's your have you done that, the love language thing? My love, when I did that book, the love language book, you know what I'm talking about? Have you read that book? It
I
pissed me
haven't
off.
read it, but obviously heard about it.
I read it. A friend was like, "Here, read this." I was staying with her, and the book literally pissed me off because it wasn't. It's not really written in a higher consciousness way, you know. It's still like kind of paradigming energy. In my perception of that was, you know, and some of the like the questions, like the questionnaires you do, were like irritating. It's like, why would I even think that way, you know, about somebody else? And I kept doing that while I was reading it. Okay, so that's just my take on it. Some people absolutely love the book, and it's like, that's
people talk about
breakthroughs
all the time.
But my love language was what, I don't know what it's called. There's like 4 different ones, but mine was, because some of them are the gift giver, you know, to receive. They want the gifts. When you give them gifts, they feel love. And mine was when somebody does something for me. It's like whatever that is, whatever that one was called, but it's like service to me.
Service, like, acts of service.
When somebody like does something for me, you know, like if I have somebody that randomly shows up and does something in my yard, it's like, it's like, it's that kind of thing. It's like it's that kind of like that they randomly just do some kind of service for me, you know, that they volunteer and do a service for me. So whatever.
Yeah, I haven't read the book, but I've always assumed that's mine as well, because, you know,
there is a thing to it, and I understand it, and I think the reason my mind went into whatever because I was like, man, this is screwed up that we all think that this stuff is love. You know,
well, and that's what I was wondering too, because I feel like most men just touch, right? They have like the touch one, and then a lot of women, it is acts of service, and I'm wondering if that's just, you know, again, the imbalance of the current relationship.
The conditioning, because when I got, you know, really understanding human design and gene keys, then that's what in that book, because I was already into all of that, and it was like, this is just conditioning. It's like, why would we even label any of this stuff as love? Because I thought that's conditioning, and it's really screwed up.
That's what I heard about it. That's how I felt too. That's how I felt too. I was like, how is anything that you do love? Like, you know, and I get that, you know, backing up love with action. I get that. But is it the love?
I think it needs to be changed to, this is your neediness language or something like that.
Well, you know,
it's not really love.
Yeah, like is this your shadow language? Yeah, like, I mean, which is a thing. I mean, this is why we're attracted to others, right? Like, you know, and so that's a thing. And like being cognizant and aware of that, I think it is a good thing, but like not making it some kind of thing to achieve, right? So if I'm fulfilling your love language, then
how do you feel recognized? It's really your recognition energy, you know, when you feel recognized by others. When do you feel valued and
recognized by others?
Right. That's really what if you think, that's what that book's really about. So I'm sorry if I, you know, anybody that really
we went the long way back to like the same conversation we were just having.
I mean, it is, because and I know that there are people that have used that book in couple counseling, and then, you know, even work counseling or whatever, when things aren't working, because they recognize that. But the part really is in your own shadow self. Why is it you need those things to feel recognized? What is that about? What's lacking?
Can we just have a conversation?
Yeah, what's lacking
or just
in there?
Say it. You know, I value your work. I appreciate what you've been putting in, and like I think the I could guess the premise is that, some people can't hear that because that's not their love language. Like speaking
Right.
isn't their love language. But I'm like, again, that's a shadow problem. That's not a
It is the
like,
shadow
let's
problem.
achieve.
It's not love, people. Don't believe that's
Like, if
love.
you
That's
can't
the
hear
shadow
what
problem.
somebody's trying to tell you, then that's, there's a deeper problem there. That's not, or if you don't accept it, because if like I was saying about the gifts, being given a lot of things, is that I felt like I hadn't earned them, right? And so, and that part of it was, because I had earned them, but they felt the need to give me something because they had taken so much of my time, and it was mostly for them. And it was, like, so it was like, if I had valued my time at the time, I would have felt like probably it was a reciprocal gift giving, right? At least an attempt to reciprocate, right?
Mhm.
But and I feel like that happens a lot too. Like, what are we thinking we're supposed to be receiving? Or what and then is it matching what we think we should be getting, right? I think that's kind of maybe the real conversation there as well. Is what are our own dynamics about giving and receiving, and are we clear that we can receive all of it, right? Like, all of those things, we should all
All
be
of
getting all of
it.
those things.
Yes, all of it.
Yeah.
Because it's all, that's nurturing, it's action. It's like we are
Words of
worthy of all of it.
affirmation.
Yes, it's all of it.
Yes. All of it. I
Yeah.
agree. See, that's what happens when you divide things up too much and we don't come back to like the universal love.
Mm-hmm.
We the unity of it all is where we can live there. But yeah, I mean, but if you need a kink, then I'd recommend the Book of Love.
It's so funny how irritated that book made me. I was like, but now I understand why. Because I was like, the whole time I was like, this isn't love. None of this is love. And I was like arguing in my head with the book, and it was, but then I did identify that, that I had equated service, when, especially like in relationships, partnership, love relationships, or whatever we want to call that, those kinds of relationships, that I had equated that with it. When I looked back at the partners that I had and drew in, that was the connection was made with every single one of them. They did something for me, and then I paid attention to them because they did something for me.
Right. It's like, oh, I did something. Do you like me?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Right.
Yeah. And like how like, now I think about it, like, yeah, as a crush, like crushes when I was a kid, that was what it was. Like, one guy, most of the I was, a nerd, so most people just ignored me. But like, one dude picked up a pencil for me from that I dropped, and all of a sudden I had a crush for like 3 months.
Right. That's funny. I wonder how many of the men that it is touched, because when I was a massage therapist, all my, all your massage clients fall in love with you. It's like, why would they not love their massage therapist? Yeah. Yeah, that happened a lot. So anyway.
It's hilarious.
Okay, so we got anything else today on the thing? We won't be here next Monday. It's Memorial Day, and I'm going out of town. So we won't be here on Monday. I don't know if we'll reschedule another day. That's to be announced. we haven't talked that far with anything.
Yeah.
So
well, yeah, we can announce it. Yeah, the only other thing, like before we switch over for next week, we'll hit the gate of zest to 16, which is indifference, versatility, and mastery. And it kind of again branches, because this is how energy works, right? And it branches from that feeling of only touching the surface and not letting deep issues bother you because it hurts too much, right? And so this is something that we develop a level of complacency over time because we feel like we can't do anything about it, and it's that's the repressive side is gullible. It's like buying into the news cycles and all the things saying that, everything's too bad, too terrible to fix, so you might as well just give up, right? That's kind of, if you're watching a lot of news, I don't know about you, but that's the feeling that I used to get when I watched the news. It's like, what could I possibly do about all this? Absolutely nothing. The reactive side is like they call it self-deluded. He calls it self-deluded, which is just another version, except now you're saying that about your own actions. Like, so your actions are what you're calling like ineffective, ineffectual, that kind of feeling that, nothing I'm doing is meaningful or worthy, right? And so it can put us in this complacency, and it's dangerous, right? Because complacency is like, it's not affected by anything, because everything is just another reason to like not pay attention, right? Mm-hmm. I know this one very intimately, if you can't tell. And so the desire comes from action. And I know a lot of people have heard this, like, do first and then like feel, right? Where most of us, I'm definitely a feeler. I feel first. And this sometimes keeps me from acting, right? And so it takes the courage to start somewhere, right? To start doing something, to start creating something, and then just keep at it until you get somewhere close to where you're trying to get to. And that's kind of the sense of versatility, of being able to master anything, right? You may not start in a place of mastery, but it's about developing a skill, So it's one of these things, again, that's pointing us to not expecting it all to happen right now. Right? It's like, that's the message of the week, essentially. It's like, don't expect, just because you got inspired today doesn't mean it's going to happen today. Mm-hmm. Right? So, like, not to be indifferent to it because it doesn't seem possible to happen today, right? Not to ignore it, right? Until it happens. Like,
yeah,
it's gonna come out of nowhere.
Not to feel defeated because you've got this big insight and there wasn't a world stage to step upon. It's like, where is the stage?
Yeah. And it's so easy. It's so easy to do as to discount something that's not fully actualized, Mm-hmm. Like when you hear a musician that's like still playing hot cross buns or something, or, somebody just has a really far ways to go, and, you're like, I'm a singer. And then you're like, are you, are you when people have those criticisms, it's like, you don't know, like, if they're doing it every day, yes, they're a singer. And what's always amazed me is the people that you discount or, count out. And then they show up a couple of years later and they're blowing you away, and that's that daily, just like putting your 2 cents in, putting your time in,
right?
And it's also powerful. So don't let the pressure keep you from your daily action that will allow you to achieve wherever you're going.
Yeah. And it's because the energy can create frustration, like you said, if your skill's not honed in yet, and then you think, that like you have the insight, but you've not honed it in yet. And then that's when we have that experience that we have labeled as failure, when, it's really discovery. It's another discovery. So what's the discovery in it, and how can you self-correct it? And then what's the vision? Use the energy of the action and keep asking to align to the vision. And what do you need to create the vision and to bring it in to the form, from the formless into form?
Yeah.
And not striking out at, the rest of the world with whatever it is.
Exactly. Yeah. Which is what Kimberly's up to bringing her vision of the garden up
I
to
am. If anybody
speed.
wants I used to do this. Like I would offer this. It was like a paid thing. I would do these transmissions, and then I would put people's name on the thing, and I would do it in my community. I do it usually on the equinoxes, and then I do a transmission thing. And so I was like, I'm out there doing the garden anyway, so I'm like working with it, and even I was pulling up a lot of, it's called Creeping Charlie, which is actually a medicinal herb. It's like it can be used for all kinds of things. It kind of smells a cross between cilantro and a mint. So it has a lot of detox and stuff. And if it gets in your yard, it's beautiful, but it takes over and it has this beautiful little purple thing, but it will choke everything else out.
Yeah,
so I have been ripping
out.
it out, and I hate ripping it out because I know that it can be used as teas and tinctures and salves and all this stuff, but it's like it loves my yard. And so yesterday I started apologizing to it, as I was doing it and thanking it for all the energy that it brings. And then I thought, oh, I can use this as like, because I'm one with everything. I'll leave I'll ask the plant, where is it that you want to live? Check out the whole thing. I'll set it there till it acclimates for like 24 hours or 48 till I know it's time to plant. And sometimes I move it. Sometimes it's like, this is not where it's time for me to live. It has to go somewhere else. It'll sit there for a day or two to see how it's grooving in with the rest of everybody else. So I'm like working consciously with it. And so I thought, oh, as I'm pulling this out, because it's excessive, it's too much. When is something excessive, I can use that too as what you're clearing out in your own energy, like clearing out your closet, clearing out whatever it is. It's the same kind of energy of that as you're clearing out things. And then I was giving it gratitude for all that it does. And that and there's a pile of it in my, because I throw it in the driveway to dry, so it'll dry out on the blacktop.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
It's like,
I am from Florida.
Goes.
Yeah.
So I was thinking, I really should be hanging this up somewhere and like turning it into tea and things like that. And I thought, then my mind went, I wonder how I could distill this. This is probably would make an incredible essential oil. I wonder if anybody's making Creeping Charlie oils or not. And then it was like, no, I don't need to take that on. I came in the house and I was like ready to Google, like, how to set up that, how to do all of that.
Yeah.
And then it was like, do I really need to do this just because I know it and I see it and I have the vision of it? Is it something I need to carry out?
That's a good question.
Another action, is this something that I really need to be the one that does this? I don't know.
Yeah.
I'll talk to Creeping Charlie some more. I felt like, oh, just because I see your value and I know what you are and I'm having to discard you, you should be of value to somebody in the world. So
absolutely. I'm sure it is to somebody, but the I think that it does take that energy in gardening. That's the hardest part for gardening with me too. It's like, okay, this plant is gone to seed. Like, what are we doing here? Why is it like, and because I don't know a lot about gardening, I'm just kind of like, live and let live, I'm just
I'm very much live and let live out there. And so
but I think it does take a little bit of like, well, no, I'm going to take this to further this, right? Like, and a little bit more of that prioritization and really going with the fullness of the vision and letting the other things pass away, letting them die, letting it, the stuff that's not
it's all energy. Energy goes back to energy somewhere. It's like, oh, that I need to know that. I'm not killing Creeping Charlie. It's like, what a name for a plant. Yeah. It's like, I'm not killing the Creeping Charlie. It's just going back to the universe so more energy can, come back and be creative in another way.
Exactly.
I might have to pull some of it and see. I did look up, like, you can make pesto out of it. And I did look up recipes and I was like, that might be something to do, use it like parsley or something. I wonder how it would be in a tabbouleh.
It's
But
probably pretty good. If it's what I think what I'm thinking of, it does have a really nice taste. It's actually, like I said, I grew up in the country. We spent a lot of
yeah,
time in the grass. Um, so you end up eating things. You just do. You end up eating.
right.
Yeah. So yeah, it is pretty tasty. I mean, I eat a lot of greens now. It's definitely something I would put like in a salad or like, you know,
Oh, I
we don't
bring
have
the.
it out here.
I let the. I know I was on a call on another call somewhere, and somebody had one in their house as a house plant, and they were so excited that they had it and it was so rare to have them. And I thought, are you kidding? It's all over my yard. I'm trying to get rid of it. And she lived out in California. And she
Wow.
was like so excited to show her creeping Charlie to everybody. And I thought, oh my God, I pulled so much off it. I could be selling this stuff so I could send it to California. People can have it as house plants.
That's true too. I mean, why the heck not? I mean, but yeah, I mean, if we, again, as creators, if we did everything that we thought of, we would literally never get anything done.
No, right.
you
Yeah.
know,
It's like, yeah, I
I
was
have
like,
ideas about everything, but that doesn't help ever. like it's it's just like everything's waiting around for the completion of the idea. So yeah, sometimes you just gotta throw it out, shift it out, get it out, whatever's next.
yep, move
You
on to the
know,
next thing, whatever
compost
it is.
it. That's what I like to
Uh,
think of it as too, like even energy. Like so, um, again, like memories. Even when you talk about recalling, like
mhm,
memories, that's what I think of it as, like composting it. Like get
mhm,
it in the ground so it can become something else, or get it into a mode where it can evolve, right? And it at first it looks like death, it dies, and then it becomes really great soil for the next thing,
right. You get some kind of nitrogen for, yeah, the next thing, the mission
Yeah.
for it that it needs to create. Yeah.
So yeah, I feel like
All
we get
discovery.
to do that all the time.
Yeah. So use this energy and be the discoverer this week. It's like, what can you discover with the energy? How can you use it in that kind of action and discover the energies? Yeah, we've got moon today, tomorrow. It's in Cancer. So people are going to want to feel nurtured. Then it's going to move into Leo on Wednesday. And it's in with Leo. So it's in Leo Wednesday and Thursday. And then into Virgo. There's a big void, I think, on Friday. Um, and it's going to move. So Leo is that, shine your light into the world, but it's also how do you shine the light onto other people? How do you reflect that energy and shine the light to others that inspires them? It's not always about you, it's about how you inspire others with the energy. And then we go into Virgo. So if that's when with your launches, your clients, with your lives, whatever, people are going to want information, your emails, whatever it is that you're doing. They're going to want analytical information, a practical ABC steps. If I do one, you know, will it take me to three? And it's like, I don't want to just be doing one to be random ass doing one. I want to know I'm going to get to three. It's like, it's
Yes,
that
that's
kind of,
totally mine
I
too.
want to know I want this gold. And if I do these steps, will I achieve this gold? So it's that kind of information.
Yes, yes. And yes, I would say for especially this energy, it's really about, are you allowing the development of your mastery? So, and what it takes to develop mastery over something is picking something. You got to pick something to master. And if you're trying to master everything, then that's your indicator that you're in creative mode, right? That it's nothing wrong. You're just creative. That's okay. And like you need to wind it back. You can do all the things. It's just that you can't master all the things, right? So pick one area of mastery and decide to do that, and then you'll start to feel like you're getting somewhere, you know. But if you try to do all the things, then that's a problem, you know? That's the problem. And so, yeah. And
Yeah,
then,
when I was doing the Mars video, I was like working the garden. I would go out, do the garden, come in and film, leave a section somewhere, go back, do something else. So I was like doing that the whole time because I go out and I work, and then I walk back in the house. And then
let me see something.
sometimes I'm looking, sometimes I'm Googling something. I come in because like I to Google the creeping Charlie to see, and then I get
Yeah. You sound,
my
we're
ADD
totally the
throw off in
same
another way.
page here. Yes, I get it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So
Yeah.
anyway,
Which I notice myself doing all the time. Like that's how I clean. Like if I decide to clean, I usually like will start taking stuff and putting it where it goes. And then on the way there, I see something to put in the garbage, and I take that and I put that in the garbage, and then I forgot where it was going. And like so, sometimes I clean like that because I find it to be kind of entertaining. It's like making up
it
my own
can be
number.
entertaining, and then
Yeah.
and sometimes setting times a 15-minute timer for ourselves, and if we just stay in that one place for 15
One
minutes,
place.
it's amazing how much you can get done.
It's
I've been
amazing
thinking
how
about
fast it
that I should
goes.
turn music on and do it till the end of the song, and then then you can, it's like musical chairs, then you get to move to the
That's a
next
great
chairs when the
idea.
music stops. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it is. It's like it's sometimes we do, like as creatives, we have to find our focus point. I'm not again, it's we'll always be creative, so the ideas will always be coming. But if you're frustrated by something, it's a sign to slow down and to
Hmm.
keep out of that kind of the hectic, right? That hectic energy. And it's like that deludes you into thinking that you're going to you're actually making things happen because you're moving fast enough, right? So, like, if you slow down a little bit and then decide on focusing in on one area, then the frustration lessens because you can see that even slow progress is satisfying if we're paying attention, you know. But it's usually because we're not. We're just kind of like da, 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 da. And then we're like, it all looks the same. What happened? Yeah. So talking to myself right now mostly.
I was thinking when you said satisfying, I was thinking about that because if, in human design and gene keys, it's like if you're a manifesting generator or generator, that is your strategy to feel satisfied. When you feel satisfied, then you know that you're in the right path. That's your authority. It's like you feel the energy of that. And as a projector, mine's success. It's like, so if I feel it's like, ooh, that was successful, then
Yeah.
it's the energy of that. Now I got a lawnmower started. I'm gonna have to shut this front door. And then the reflectors are, I just went blank. The lawnmower distracted me. What's a
Yeah.
reflector? What is there to know? Because they feel the energy of everything.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm feeling it as a feeling more than I'm not getting any words. That's how
I
it
know
happens for
what
me.
they're. I know theirs is like they can get very. I know when it's what their not self is because they feel the way they feel all of humanity. It's kind of a hopelessness kind of energy that can overcome them.
Hmm.
We're gonna have to look
Yeah.
that up because we both went blank on reflectors.
Yeah.
I have never had a reflector client. Have you? I
I
know
have
some
I have
reflectors.
for readings. Yeah, for
I
my
haven't. I have
superpower
never
reading.
had a reflector yet. I personally know a couple of reflectors, but I have
Yeah, I've
never.
actually had like three. Like they find me. I don't know how.
That's great.
Uh, I got a lot of projectors too. I just have to watch out for y'all. Because when I'm making my vocal superpower chart, like it's really that. Because I look at both sides. I look at the
Disappointment. Okay, that when
that's
they feel
the
that disappointment of the so they're not self is the disappointment. So if you
yeah. That
feel
doesn't tell me
the
anything.
is it satisfaction? So if they feel they're just not really satisfied because they feel that
Mm-mm.
disappointment and the so whatever the opposite of disappointment is.
Well,
That's how
I don't know. I was speaking to one at my last summit, and it was, I think what I was telling them is basically that you feel appreciated, essentially, that the person, that you're in an environment in which you're appreciated, and so if you're not feeling appreciated, it's the wrong environment, right? If you're disappointed by the people, what not accomplishing what you think they can accomplish, and they're not recognizing your input, basically. But I can't remember the right word right now.
Yeah, it's the
Yeah.
disappointment that can really kind of, I think of reflectors if they're in that energy is of what used to be the emo people, that it's like it's that, and I think that there's a part of being a teenager that you're reflectors, and that there's this is like a part that you are a reflector, when you're in that energy of it. We go through phases of all of it in some way. So that,
Yeah.
and that disappointment can overcome them, and it's the disappointment of humanity because they feel all of it. So it's that disappointment of it because yeah. So anyway,
Yeah. Because they know what we're really capable of, and if we're not there, then they're just sad for us and for everyone,
mhm.
for everybody that's hurt by it. Yeah, yeah, that, and
Did
yeah,
I
for
miss anybody?
projectors.
The projectors is success, and the reflectors, and then who's that? Is that all the four of the tops? Did I miss anybody? I'm like
Pretty
blanking
much
out on it.
manifester. We don't really talk about those.
Oh yeah, the manifestors. There's
Yeah,
this. Well, it's not. I mean, the word is not success, but it is. It is that they're here to give everybody the instructions.
yeah. So basically, yeah, I think they're
I know there's this
not selfish
anger.
anger.
Yeah, they're not selfish anger because that you can feel that coming from, like if a manifestor tries to direct you and you don't do it, then they get really angry. Donald Trump is a manifestor too, so that you're fired. It's kind of energy.
Starting
A
to
lot
make more
of a
sense.
lot of our politicians, especially older generations, have been manifestors. Because that's what they're here to do. And it's like, so that Obama was the first projector president.
I
So,
know, that's so cool.
and he wasn't invited. He wasn't invited by the Congress to be in their house. And so that when a projector's not invited, I mean, that's a perfect example. They decided to veto anything he tried to do, no matter what it was.
Hmm.
It didn't matter what it was. It was like so that's what happens because they didn't feel like they invited him to be the change maker.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. So that's
yeah.
just using those archetypes as a way to explain the energy,
That's happened around for all of
right,
us.
that we've seen in the collective.
Yeah, it does help. Astrology is what helped me deal with the Trump too, deal with all of that, because it was such a flagrant showing of shadow, um, and then how it still manifests. Like, it's so interesting to me how that happens. And it was really like the first proof that you can be in your shadow, like you're still, but and still serve your purpose.
Oh,
Um,
yeah. I mean,
yeah,
most people aren't aware and they haven't done self work. I mean, really, honestly, the ones of us that are doing self work, it's a low percentage. And I forget that because it's all that I surround myself with. So it's
exactly.
always still shocking to me. It's
Yeah,
always shocking to me when I see the shadow so fragrant or smell it so
yeah.
fragrant
It's
when
like,
it's so,
whoa,
yeah, right.
yeah. Okay.
Yeah, because I forget that, because I don't draw any of that to me. I'm not in any groups that I have to deal with it. So it's always shocking to my system.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, it's all out there. So again, like, never feel like you're not serving your purpose. You are your purpose. Like, who you are is your purpose. And then whether you get to participate in the joy of the creation of what you're creating is the
Actually, Trump might be
question.
a manifesting generator. I said he was a manifester. He may be a
Yeah.
manifesting generator.
I don't know. Like, yeah. So I
Anyway,
never looked up his chart myself. So I
okay.
try not to think about it.
Now the guys got the weed eater going, and I've still got my front door open. So we were signing out, and we won't
Yeah.
be here next week. So catch you all whenever we catch you.
Catch you on the flip side. So probably see you in June sometime. And we'll post the announcement the next time we're coming through.
Yeah. Okay. Bye.
Peace out.